Can the Maple Leafs salvage their season with this upcoming road trip? First stop, Seattle. We'll detail that one tonight. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Thank you for making the Locked On Leafs podcast part of your daily listening routine. Just a reminder, new episodes every weekday, Monday through Friday, wherever you get your podcasts. Dave, what's happening? How are you feeling on a Thursday?
Not too bad. You know, it's been an interesting couple days for chatter about this team, that's for sure.
Oh, the sky's falling. The sky's fallen, actually. I think the sky has fallen. Like, realistically, that loss to Buffalo really did feel like the dagger to the back of the Maple Leafs of the 25-26 season, didn't it? Like, it's been very sour around the fan base over the last 24 hours. And, you know, I still think that there is a possibility they can get themselves back into it. Like, if they can rattle off 4 straight wins on this upcoming road trip, I think there's a possibility they can climb back into the mix. However, is it worth it? Like, do you think this team is good enough to compete at all? And if not, you might as well just start to move off from some pieces and make the hard decisions, because this team hasn't made a lot of hard decisions. This management group has not made a lot of hard decisions since they took over. Like, really, what hard decision have they had to make? Like, can you think of one?
Not really. Like, Mitch Marner didn't make it a hard decision to let him go.
Mitch Marner left. Marner received a contract offer, and it was rejected. Not once, but twice. Once before the trade deadline, and then again they received an offer at the end of the season. Twice he said, no, I want to go elsewhere. So that decision was out of their hands when all said and done. So that one was not part of it, because if they had it their way, they would have ran it back with the same group. Probably would have had a little bit more success than they've had this season. But still, like, that one, you can't call that a difficult decision to move off of Mitch Marner. They tried to bring him back. He said no. I guess firing Sheldon Keefe, like, is that the most difficult decision that they've made? Firing Keefe and bringing in Berube? Not really. Like,
no, because Keefe was seen as another scapegoat.
Well, his time had kind of ran out in Toronto. He had 5 years and had one playoff round to show for it when all said and done, right? Like, it just kind of made sense that was the direction they went in at the time. They've never made it uncomfortable for anyone. They've never approached Morgan Riley, or they never approached, William Nylander or Matthews or Tavares and Domi, for that matter, about waiving their no move clause or the no trade clause. Like, they're just not really doing anything. They're taking the easy way out all the time. And it seems like Brad Treliving is just waiting for something to happen or something to pop up, and waiting for kind of that gift from another team. Troy Stecher maybe was, a little gift that they got from the Oilers, and it worked for about a month, but I don't think there's any life preservers being handed out here over the next, couple of weeks, month until the trade deadline. They got to make a decision. They got to pick a lane and pick it fast, because this mushy middle, it hasn't worked for years with this Maple Leafs team, and it's only going to get worse if they decide to stay there.
Yeah, the real question too is, okay, if they decide to go into the, decision to sell off and stuff, it's not going to be so. Like, I was looking, people were asking me today, how easy could it be for this team to bottom out? It ain't going to be that easy either, because
no,
it's a top 5 protected pick.
Mm-hmm.
They're 23rd in the league right now, and you see the teams that are below them. Like, there's quite a few teams that need to leapfrog the Leafs, which a few of them can. Like Washington, New Jersey, I think are capable of doing it. But like, there are some teams here that are putting themselves in the position to almost concretely put themselves in that bottom 5 situation too.
Let's put it this way. Currently we sort by points percentage, which at the end of the year, that's how it's going to, shake out. So I guess you could look at that as the tool to use. And they're 23rd in points percentage right now, league wide, right? In order to end up with a top 5 pick, they would have to end 29th in the NHL, right? 29th, 28, 30, 31, and then 32, where the Vancouver Canucks are. So those teams behind them that they would have to fall is Washington, which I could see Washington getting ahead of the Leafs. I could definitely see that. I don't know about the Devils, man. Like, the Devils are playing some pretty bad hockey. I'm not sold that the Devils, with the injuries that they're sustaining, the goaltending problems that they got over there, it's not a gimme that the Devils go on a second half run here and, lap the Maple Leafs. So I wouldn't give that a guarantee. Nashville, you think Nashville is a team that's going to, go on a big second half surge and get ahead of Toronto? Possibly, but it's not a guarantee. Like, this team's been pretty bad for 2 years now. They had that one little stretch, that they had about a month ago, similar to Toronto. But then you look, they've followed it up, not so great. They've lost a couple games now in a row and are kind of back to where they were. Chicago, I think Toronto's a better team than Chicago. Winnipeg, I don't know what the Winnipeg Jets are, but there's currently 8 points separating the Winnipeg Jets and Maple Leafs. Are the Leafs going to be 8 points worse than Winnipeg with 30 games to go? Seems like a bit of a stretch. And then you get to New York, Calgary, St. Louis, Vancouver. Seems like those teams are probably, solidified themselves among the bottom 5. Yeah. So it's tough. Like, it's easy to say, bottom out, get a top 5 pick, keep that selection. But I don't know if they can get there. There's a lot of other bad teams that, dug themselves a much deeper ditch than Toronto did earlier in the year, where now they're stuck in this weird space where they're probably not good enough to compete and make the playoffs, but they're also not good enough to bottom out and get their first round pick back. In all likelihood, this team's going to end up, finishing somewhere, with the 10th overall pick in the draft. And we're going to have to chew on watching Boston, either use that to get a trade chip, to get a piece of the deadline, or chew on watching Boston make another top 10 selection, courtesy of the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's most likely what's going to end up happening.
And it's sickening. It truly is. All Brad Treliving needed to do was just make the pick top 10 protected. Even top 10 protected.
Well, I was thinking about this, though, Dave. I was thinking about this. Is there any, like, even if it's top 10 protected, right? Let's say it's top 10 protected and they finish, in the top 10 and they get to keep their pick. Do you have any hope or any belief that this team is going to be any better next year? Are they showing you that they could be better next year? Because if you protect a pick, you can only protect it for 1 year. And then next year, it's gone. That's Boston's pick in 2027.
Well, I think it's 2028 because I think 2027 goes to Philly, for the Lund trade.
Even worse. Now, all of a sudden, you don't have your next 2 picks and you've gutted your team and you don't have your next 2 first-round picks. That's even worse. So I think the Maple Leafs, honestly, are better off giving up their pick this year anyways and just kind of getting it over with, as opposed to being held hostage by it for the next 2 years. So, I don't find it won't be the end of the world, I guess, if that's what happens, which I think is probably likely because I don't see him finishing in the bottom 5 of the league.
I don't either. And with the way, like just because the big part of it is not just this year's pick, you just mentioned next year's pick too. The fact that you don't own your own first round pick makes this the whole idea of blowing it up. You're not trading these guys
or second round pick, Dave, or second round pick.
Yep. Right. Like, I think that pick was traded. Now I'll give Brad Treliving. I won't throw him under the bus for that one because that was a Kyle Dubas trade.
Yeah, that was the Jake McCabe deal.
Yeah, that was the Jake McCabe deal. like you can get second round picks back for sure. First round picks, you can get first round picks if you trade some of these guys. But here's the thing: you trade for these first round picks, second round picks, you got to hit on these picks. They're not going to be top 10 picks you're going to get back when you trade some of these guys. And I think that's something that people need to understand when it comes to selling everything off and starting over again. You look at the teams that are owning these top end picks, they're not giving up those picks. So the fact that the Leafs don't have their picks, that's what makes this whole idea of blowing it up really tough.
Well, let me ask you this. Outside of, and the jury is still out on Easton Cowan. I mean, he's not having a spectacular season. He's not failing, but, we'll see what he turns into.
Yeah.
But outside of Easton Cowan, let's say, is there any prospects that they've drafted and developed that makes you believe that, they will hit on these picks, that they'll draft well, they'll scout well, make the correct pick and draft them and develop them properly? Because the development curve has been quite stagnant over the last, 10 years,
that's
really.
The problem.
Since, this whole group of like Keefes, Marleys, all elevated all up at once. And since then, I mean, who have they really developed? Like, no one. And like Easton Cowan's not developing with the Marleys anyways. He's been up with the Leafs pretty well all year, right? And they can't develop any defensemen to come in and help. All right, that's why they had to return the same 6 D-men this year. So, yeah, it's such a bizarre place for the Maple Leafs to be. There's just not a lot of faith in the organization right now to do anything right. That's the sad part. And it happened so quick. This thing fell apart so quickly for the Maple Leafs. They won the division last year, Dave. They won the Atlantic Division last year for the first time since, was it 2000? It wasn't even named the Atlantic Division the last time that they had won the division title, setting aside the Canadian division year. And a year later, they might finish in last place in this division. Like, as of now, they're currently tied with the Ottawa Senators. And if you go to the tiebreaker of regulation wins, they're in last place in the Atlantic Division right now.
Yeah.
It's pretty embarrassing how quickly it all fell off for these Maple Leafs. And I can see it. You can see it. Most of Leafs Nation sees it. Hopefully management sees it and doesn't continue to try and, throw poop at the wall, throw more picks, throw more prospects to try and compete this year. I think we can all pretty well see the writing on the wall and just flat out say, this team's not good enough. They're just not good enough. There's too many teams ahead of them. They're now 8 points out of a playoff spot with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams ahead of them. Like, they're just not in a good spot. Not in a good spot. And it's going to be a bumpy ride the rest of the way. The final 29 games, Dave, buckle up. It's going to be, let's put it this way. You had your 3-year anniversary show yesterday. Congrats, by the way. 3 years since we've had Dave with us. I did 3 years prior to Dave joining, so he's been there, for half of the ride here, which is awesome since we started this podcast back when Mike Babcock was the head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's how long this podcast has been rolling, and this is the worst year. This is the worst year and the worst team since the podcast has been since its inception, and it's going to be a little bit of unfamiliar territory for us and for a lot of Leafs Nation, like, kind of the new blood that's become Leaf fans in this Matthews, Marner, Nylander era. They may never have experienced what it's like to go through some dark days, and it feels like that's what's ahead here for the Maple Leafs. Let's get into the upcoming road trip and the importance of, can they possibly salvage the season? We can get into that, and it all begins tonight in Seattle. So we'll preview that game next. Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
Today's edition of the Locked On Leafs podcast is brought to you by Indeed. If you've ever hired someone who looked good on paper but wasn't the right fit, you know how important that is. When you want candidates, you truly match what you're looking for. Trust Indeed sponsored jobs. Hiring Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job posted on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. if you're looking for somebody who's right for your job, just go straight to Indeed and be very specific about what you need. Real experience, not just resume buzzwords. Instead of struggling to get your job post seen, Indeed sponsored jobs helps your listing stand out and reach the quality candidates faster. Sponsored job boosts your post to the people who are the best match for your role. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed are 90% more likely to report a hire than non-sponsored jobs. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results using Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show get a $75 sponsored job credit to help give your job the premium placement it deserves at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed.
Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, David Morassutti with you as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, with brand new episodes of the Locked On Leafs podcast. And if you are an everydayer, you got to join the Everydayer Club. If you never miss an episode, it's time to make it official and join the Locked On Everydayer Club and get ad-free audio, access to our members-only Discord, and more, all built for our most loyal fans. Click the link in the description down below to learn more and join our team's community. The Maple Leafs with a big road trip ahead. 4 more games left between now and the Olympic break. Is it possible, Dave, for them to fight themselves back into playoff contention, or is this wishful, hopeful thinking at this point?
Yeah, if they can all of a sudden stop being the worst defensive team in the league, be a start. But they're pretty much dead last in every category you don't want them to be in.
Did you see that Mike Kelly tweet?
Yeah, it's exactly the one I'm mentioning.
You pulling it up?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up. I probably should have had it pulled up.
Yeah,
bad on my part there. But this is it runs deeper than just offense needs to be better, or X, Y, and Z need to be better. If you look at this, if you look at what Mike Kelly threw out here, they're allowing the most shots per game, most slot shots, rush chances, cycle chances, expected goals, and goals on defense. Some of these categories, they were not dead last in last year, and that's why last year was different than this year. But it's pretty eye-opening to see just how putrid this defense has turned in one calendar year.
I mean, based on the numbers, that's got to be the worst defense in the league. Based off the numbers and performance, has to be. It's tough to feel like most teams, obviously not every. The fact that they're 32nd dead last in shots, slot shots, and rush chances. So they're allowing a lot of chances off the rush, but they're also allowing a lot of chances in the slot. It's like they can't stop anything. Cycle chances, second to last. Mm-hmm. So they're allowing things off the rush. They're allowing teams to establish a cycle. They're allowing pucks in front of the net and into the slot. And it's just they can't get a save as well. Their team save percentage in the dumps. And I also was looking into some of the more underlying numbers, and it's not rosy, but also goals per 60 minutes. We talked about yesterday, where the Maple Leafs sit. The Leafs have the first, second, and third place players in the league when it comes to goals allowed per 60 minutes among players with at least 500 minutes played this year. It's William Nylander. It's Max Domi, and it's Morgan Riley. No player who's played at least 5 minutes or 500 minutes of hockey this year has been on the ice for more goals per 60 than those three. How is it possible? Those guys aren't even line mates. It's not as though it's one line that's getting scored on constantly. Those guys aren't on the ice together all the time. That just means that the whole team is being scored on. And, we talked about it with Riley. He's been on the ice for more goals than anyone else in the NHL at 5-on-5 this year. 60 goals against at 5-on-5. And then right behind him, OEL, who has spent a lot of time away from him. So whether it's Riley's pair or OEL's pair, a bunch of goals are being scored on the Maple Leafs, and that is a problem. And going into, this road trip, you got to try and stop, McDavid in a couple of days. Like that's a massive, massive, problem that the Leafs are going to have, is trying to slow him down and stop him. But before that, you do have Seattle, you got Vancouver, you got Calgary. Like, these are teams that, Seattle, it's probably like a 50-50 shot, but Calgary and Vancouver, like, you got to win those games. You have to win those games if you have any hope in hell of salvaging this season. You lose one of them, one of these next three, the season's over. Like, it's really over. Like, I think they should throw in the towel, but if that were to actually happen, where they go like 1-4 on this road trip, 1-3 on this road trip, that is for sure curtains, and you gotta just call it quits on the season, call it quits on maybe this whole era, and strip it down to the studs, man. Like, it could
do what
get
Chris Pronger said. Literally what Chris Pronger said.
exactly.
Just strip it down.
Strip it down to the studs. I don't think they have the appetite for that or the stomach for that. I don't think that they would even let Treliving do that. But it's probably.
I think that really the only thing you like that makes the most sense for them to do this year is what Boston and St. Louis have done.
So who would that be? So like their Marchand would be like Morgan Riley, but Marchand. Well, who would it be? Okay, so what player?
If I'm like a desirable player right now on the market, it's probably like a Bobby McMahon.
Sure, but he's not going to fetch you. Like, what would Bobby McMahon fetch you? Second round pick, probably.
His contract status, like the fact that he's not signed now, like the idea of a pending UFA who's got some decent goal scoring ability isn't going to fetch you a first unless it's like a contending team that's just desperate to add a goal scorer. So like he's one. Oliver Ekman-Larsson is probably like, I don't know if he has any trade protection. I mean, if it's the Leafs, they probably gave him some sort of trade protection because that's what they've done.
He has a 16 team no trade list, so he can veto half the teams, but the other half he's got no say.
Right. So like he's probably one player that if you're realistically going to move and get something back, he's probably one of your best bullets because he's having a half decent season. He's won a cup, a veteran defenseman that is named to the Sweden's Olympic roster. So there's pedigree there for him. At least you can say the contract status is, for a guy who's played top 4 minutes, $3.5 million ain't too bad, right?
Who's a player that I would talk to see if he'd be willing to move Jake McCabe, because I think that guy, right? Like that's a guy who's got term, and he's rugged, and he plays with some passion, plays with some effort and some physicality, and that's kind of what you need in the playoffs. So like if a team's looking to beef up their third pair, they're looking for a number 4. Like Jake McCabe could be that guy. And he's got term as well. And he's not as old as OEL, who's 34. Like, he's a couple of years younger. So, that contract might be a little better.
His contract's not like brutal. Like,
no, $4.5 is perfectly fine for like a strong 5 or a 4, which is probably what McCabe is at this point, like an average 4th defenseman. But at $4.5 million, now again, he's got trade protection. He's got a no trade clause. But those are the types of difficult conversations I'm talking about, where it's like the Leafs take the easy way out. They don't have those difficult conversations with their players. They should be talking to Morgan Riley. They should be talking to Jake McCabe, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, like Brandon Carlo. Right? If you can find a taker for Carlo at this point, I think like just cut your losses and move on there up front. Like, I would probably see, Max Domi. I know you got a modified no trade clause, but like, hey, if there's a team who's interested in your services, I would move on from that guy any day of the week. 3 more years at sub $4 million. Yeah, I prefer to move off of that contract at this point. Like if he gets
if somebody wants to, you gave up just a 3rd round pick. If you're getting that back, go for it. Like, this is what we're talking about. Like just cutting out. I know people have thrown out the Nyes. I've seen people throw Matthew Nyes' name out there. Like,
Nylander. Everyone wants to trade Nylander after middle finger gate. Feels like everyone he became a villain in this market after that. He really did. And the fact that the team has lost 5 in a row and he hasn't been there to help clearly is part of the issue as well. But yeah, I don't think anyone's an untouchable. I'll be honest though. Like, I don't think anyone should be considered an untouchable. If you're going to retool it, rebuild it, strip it down, however you want to look at it, no one should be untouchable. Like, even Austin Matthews. Like, if you get a reasonable offer, right? I truly believe that you should listen to it. You should listen.
That's the part there I think that people need to understand. It's not just moving off of these players. In order for a rebuild / retool to actually work, you need to hit a few home runs. You can't do what some of these teams and say we're just gonna go and get top 5 picks. Like, it doesn't. Put it this way.
There was a blockbuster trade earlier in the year, right? Quinn Hughes, right? Yes. Quinn Hughes, who only has 1 fewer year left on his contract. So there's 1 extra year left of Austin Matthews. But Quinn Hughes in return got a first-round pick, and he got a top defensive prospect, a young-ish, I think Marco Rossi's like 22, 23 years old, middle 6 forward. You got a young, another kind of
24 years old
9 winger. 24. Okay. So Matthew Nyes' age. You got another top 9 winger in Liam Ogren. Like, you got pieces, but like, would the Maple Leafs accept something like that for an Austin Matthews? Probably not.
Nope.
But that seems to be the market, or at least that was the market for Quinn Hughes. I don't know.
You stomach that trade because you saw a bunch of things you can see that you can move forward with. Austin Matthews is, the thing that I don't know now. Quinn Hughes, I believe he had no movement clause. I can't remember now.
Probably not. No, I don't think he had no move.
So that's the part. I'm gonna double check that just because that's the part there where you go to Austin Matthews.
Yeah, I don't think he did at that point.
Yeah, he doesn't have a no movement clause.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go to Quinn Hughes and you say, all right, if you go to Austin Matthews, you say, we want to see if we can, kind of refresh, restart this. We know that's probably not something you're going to be interested in being a part of. Austin Matthews will say, okay, I get my choice of where I want to go. And guess what? That puts you in a very tough situation because you can't just say, we want this, 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 and that.
Yeah.
Now, if you're Austin Matthews, you will likely want to hopefully do right by the team and say, put out the offers you feel are the best. And if that's a team I want to go to, I'll waive my no movement clause.
Yeah.
Right. That's usually how it's supposed to work, but there's no guarantees in that. And that's the part there that's tough when you have these no movement clause. Well, then, I can just be like, no, I'm not going to do it. Like, I have the clause for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Which, it's just that's the reality of that situation and that part of it too. You can talk about trading these players, but at the end of the day, they got the power in it.
You can make it uncomfortable for them. Like, I mean, not
you can.
Not to condone what happened to Jacob Trouba, but he also said, no, I don't want to move. And they're like, we'll make you want to move. And they made the uncomfortable decisions. Now it hasn't worked out for the Rangers, and maybe they're getting, that hockey karma afterwards.
That's the part of it too.
I'm just saying, like, they make those decisions. The Vegas Golden Knights, like, they make you want to leave. Like, they don't mind shipping people out and filtering, through things. That you can't just look at it and be like, oh, he's got a no move. I have to respect that. It's like, well, you have to do what's best for the team. Right? Not the player, the team. As the general manager, that's what you have to do. And if it means making it uncomfortable for a guy like Morgan Riley, I mean, Austin Matthews, he's your captain. It is different. Like that one's kind of difficult to do. But Morgan Riley, there is no reason why the conversation shouldn't have been had already, but certainly should be had now. Hey, would you be open to moving somewhere? Can you give us a list of teams that you'd be open to, and we can try and make something work because it's not working here for you. If we can get something, that'll help us in the future, that'd be great. Maybe there's somewhere one of these teams who are looking for a puck moving defenseman, in a little lesser role that we can help facilitate a trade with that has cup aspirations. It could be a win-win for both of us. Have that conversation.
Yep.
Don't just sit there and be like, gotta know me. What do you
like,
want me to do?
Riley
You can't approach the player. Yeah, you can approach him.
You
can, and you should. You should.
Riley is a person that I think when you're talking about like the Jacob Trouba-esque style, like the thing that saves Riley in a way to make this maybe a salvageable move is, unlike Trouba, who fell out of favor with the team, Riley, the play on the ice hasn't been good enough, but he hasn't been an issue in the locker room. We haven't heard about like,
oh, you love the person. I love the person, Morgan Riley, and the teammate he is. Like that stuff I love, but the game on the ice has fallen significantly.
Yeah.
And it's been a couple of years now, and it's getting to a point where it's like, I don't think it's getting any better. If anything, it's just going to get worse. So if you can find a team willing to take a shot, roll the dice on a Morgan Riley, then I think you should seriously look into doing that. Now, is there teams out there? Is there much interest? What type of return could you get? I don't know. I do not know the answer to that question. I do stupid things all the time.
I always look at New Jersey and I say, like, could they convince Sheldon Keefe? Morgan Riley had his better years under Sheldon Keefe.
Yeah, hey, Dougie for Mo, straight up, just to get two guys, like get creative that way. Yeah, it's a possibility, I suppose. You could try that.
Like we know New Jersey's in the offloading of salary. I get it when they made the Palat deal, but it
does offload salary because you got Morgan Riley making 7.5, where Dougie's making 9, so you're saving a little bit of money, bit of money there.
That to me, it seems like a deal that if I'm the Leafs, I would be looking into that, and it should be an easier sell. Could Carolina want a Morgan Riley, right?
Also, less dollars moving forward next year. It's only $6 million in actual cash that's owed to Riley each year until his contract is over. So it's a little bit of a front-loaded deal for Morgan Riley. He made $10 million the first 3 years. He's making $8 million cash this year, and then it's only $6 million for the final 4 years of that deal. So, you save a little bit more cash than cap in a situation like that. We kind of got derailed, I guess, and ended up talking about possible trade chips and what the Maple Leafs should do. There's plenty of time to get into all of that, I'm sure, especially during the Olympic break, where we'll be able to dive into fantasy land, get the trade tracker going. But let's take one more quick break. We'll come back and quickly touch on Leafs Seattle tonight to begin their Western road trip. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Let's be real. Managing your finances can feel overwhelming. Between subscriptions you forgot about, bills that keep going up, and trying to figure out where all your money actually goes each month, it's easy to feel like you're losing control. And who has time to track every transaction or hunt down hidden fees? That's where Rocket Money comes in, the personal finance app that helps you take control. It finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and lowers your bills so you can grow your savings. I was shocked when Rocket Money showed me how much I was paying for some of my subscriptions I forgot about. It's already saved me money. I love how it tracks all of my subscriptions and lets me cancel them right on the app in just a few taps. So no hunting down customer service numbers or anything crazy like that. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano and David Morassutti with you on the show. Let's quickly get into tonight's matchup. Leafs, Kraken. Although it's very doom and gloom, there still is a lot of games to be played between now and the end of the season, Dave. And it'll be game 54 on the year for the Maple Leafs. They're in Seattle to kick off this final 4-game road trip before the Olympic break. Let's take a look at Seattle's lineup that they'll be going up against tonight. And former Toronto Maple Leaf, Jared McCann, obviously, one of the boys out there. Matty Beniers and Eberle, his line mates. You got Berkeley Catton with Chandler Stevenson and Eli Tolvanen. You got Jaden Schwartz, Shane Wright, and Capo Caco. Winterton, Goudreau, and Melanson on the fourth line defensively. Vince Dunn and Adam Larson, Jamie Alexiak, Brandon Montour, and Charlie Lindgren and Riker Evans. Not Charlie Lindgren, Ryan Lindgren and Riker Evans on defense. And it'll be either Joey Decord or Philip Grubauer. He's having a good bounce back season, by the way. Picked him up in fantasy a couple weeks ago. He's actually playing pretty well this year for the Kraken. One of those two will be in net. And, Dave, you look at the lineup and it's like, okay, Toronto, like they should be able to win a game against a lineup like this, right? Like it's a decent defense. I'll give them that. I like their D. But forward-wise, I mean, it's a pretty bleak forward group out there in Seattle. Toronto should be able to defend against that. Should be the operative word.
But it's also Toronto we're talking about
That's
here.
I mean, should be able to. Will they? Well, we'll see.
Yeah, like this is a Seattle team that clearly could use a trade with the Leafs if they want to add a little bit of talent up front. Right,
Bobby McMahon for Shane Wright. Who says no?
Man,
probably Seattle.
Probably Seattle,
unless maybe an extension is in place with Bobby beforehand. But anyways, sorry, I derailed you.
I just think that this is a Seattle team that has tried to play the Vegas Misfits, right? The players that teams don't want anymore, like. Shane Wright was a cast off in terms of he was supposed to be a first overall pick and fell to Seattle, right? Yeah. Capo Caco was cast away by the Rangers. Eli Tolvanen, another promising player that was kind of thrown away. Even Jordan Eberle, Edmonton decided we're good with not having him on the team. Yeah. Actually, no, he was with the Islanders.
The Leafs said, "Hey, Jared McCann, you stink. We don't need you at all."
We'd rather have Justin Hall. Never will ever forget that one. Like there are players there are players on this team that are not even played to their potential, that's for sure, and that's kind of what Seattle's kind of bet on. But yeah, I mean for the Leafs, like we heard Craig Berube say, like this team hasn't had a problem scoring goals, and I think that's something they're gonna have to do in this game because defending, it's kind of a who's guess at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Player to watch tonight for the Seattle Kraken, Shane Wright. He's been in the rumor mill. Reportedly, he is a player that the Seattle Kraken might be willing to move on from. Hasn't been a great year for him. 7 goals, just 18 points, playing less than 14 minutes a game. And I mean, this is a guy who once upon a time was supposed to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Like he was a guy who was, was he exceptional status or was he applied and denied? He might've been an exceptional status player. Now I think about it.
I think he was given exceptional status. Yeah. When he went to Kingston.
Yeah, he was. So an exceptional status player and just never truly was able to make it work. One of those players too, like that whole kind of year, COVID really got in the way of development for these young players. And, with him being in the trade rumors, you would think Shane Wright, they'll put him in the right situations and hopefully bump up those numbers a bit. Like you would expect 7 goals, 18 points. Like that's a little light for what you expect of Shane Wright at this point in his career.
No, absolutely. And like, couple of years ago, they were able to get him down to the AHL, and he actually put up some decent numbers there. Like 47 points in 59 games. He had 13 points in 12 playoff games. Like it seemed like that move kind of worked out. He had 44 points last year, which, isn't terrible, 19 goals, but it just seems like
Just take a step
something-
back.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. I mean, like also like they've his as we said, like his role has been reduced, and I'm sure the constant talk about his future doesn't really help either.
I heard or saw on the Twitter sphere that a Shane Wright for Cole Perfetti deal has been talked about, which is a very interesting concept. If you're, the Jets and Kraken, two promising prospects who kind of haven't lived up to expectation, would be an interesting deal there. Leafs player to watch tonight. Your boy, Bobby McMahon. Why are you excited to watch Bob McMahon tonight?
Just keep scoring goals, Bobby. Get that trade value up. That goal he scored against Buffalo, where Matthews, like, I totally meant to lose the puck to Bob McMahon, and he just absolutely rifles it.
Nice broken play goal. Hey man, like he's shooting a lot. Look at his last 3 games, got 11 shots. So he's putting the puck on net. That's for sure. He's putting the puck on net, and it's finding twine. He's in the midst of a career year, and he seemingly does look like, one of the juicier trade chips the Leafs could have between now and the trade deadline. He's a UFA, pending UFA. He could score goals. He's got speed. Can play with a little bit of P and V at times. So there should be some teams interested in Bob McMahon. So yeah, continue to play well, score goals, boost up that trade value as much as possible.
There's a lot going on. There's a lot going for Bobby McMahon as a trade target. Like apparently Edmonton is a team that's shown that could be an interest.
Bobby McMahon, like I keep saying this, he's not quite, Zach Hyman. He doesn't do all the Hyman things. He's a bigger body than Hyman, but like he's a bit of a Zach Hyman light. Like he can play a similar role to Zach
I think he's got more offensive instincts than Zach Hyman because he's got the shot, but
I don't think so. Dude, they're talking about a 50 goal scorer, Zach Hyman. Come on now.
Tapping in 50 goal scorers. I like
that. Come on.
Look, you put Bob McMahon with Connor McDavid. I think he will show a little more promise as a goal scorer.
Maybe.
I just think the speed and shot, I think it work. Like Zach Hyman, I mean, he scored 50 goals. You give him a lot of credit for that. I just think that
who else had speed and a decent shot when he used it? Pierre Engvall.
Yeah, but
yeah, all the deep cuts here on this episode.
I mean, hey, look, he got paid. Good for him.
I'm pretty sure he's in the minors now, isn't he? Is he even with the Islanders as they, soar up in the rankings? I feel like I saw he got sent down to the minors at some point. I don't know if he got brought back up or not. Let's see. Yeah, take a little trip down memory lane. Pierre Engvall is on LTIR. Okay, so he's hurt. He's on LTIR.
He's on Robida Island right now. That's where.
Honestly, yeah, he's got 5 more years left of that contract. That thing's not done until 2030. So I guess 4 more years after this.
God bless his agent, man, because that's some great work he did on that deal. I'll tell you that.
Was stupid then, was stupid now. Yeah.
I think like Bobby McMahon, for me, he's a late bloomer. I just think that he's one of the few bright spots that's happening on this Leafs team right now, and that's why I say like just
take advantage of it.
Keep playing him on the top line with Austin Matthews. Keep showcasing him because I do think, maybe his trade value isn't super high because of his contract, but I mean, it's a desirable contract. The Leafs wouldn't have to retain.
Well, also, like, what's stopping you from trading him, getting an asset for him, allow him to go to a team and try and win a Stanley Cup, and then he's a free agent at the end of the year. If you really like Bobby McMahon, give him a contract offer on July 1st.
Yeah,
and bring him back to the team.
Hey, Bobby, keep the phone close. If I'm Brad Treliving, if the team, let's say, is offering a 2nd-round pick, they're saying we can only do a second.
I would do that with Scott Lawton, by the way. Same thing, where it's like pending UFA.
Yeah. I want Scott Lawton. I want Scott Lawton sticking around, but I also like the idea of
getting something for him in the meantime.
Yeah, I would tell whatever team. Okay, you want to give us a 2nd-round pick? We're putting a condition on that because if you sign this guy, we want more than just a 2nd-round pick for him.
I don't know if you can do those conditions anymore.
Sometimes I don't know if you can do specifically.
I don't think it's if you can re-sign them. I think it's only based on like team stuff now. As far as
I wish I could have had an agent's line on that.
yeah, I know. Would be nice to
Or maybe about that, CJ.
Yeah, you would know. You would know. But either way, yeah, I don't know how we got onto that conversation again.
But like, I do think so. Like,
is that what's going to be? This podcast is going to be talking about trade chips and trade deadlines.
I think we're just giving the people what they want.
Oh man, that's true. That is what the people want.
I think the league had I think the league changed that.
Yes, a couple years ago. Yeah, where it's if they make it far enough into the playoffs, you can have conditions on it, but I don't think it's based off player performance or re-signing that player. All right, Dave, we'll end it there.
Burst my bubble.
Yeah, sorry, pal. We'll end it there. Thanks, everyone, for listening and supporting this show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys tomorrow. Leafs, Kraken, tonight, late game. Keep in mind, it's on the West Coast, a little 10 p.m. start. Go Leafs, go. Until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.